Zelda Tears of the Kingdom reveals coming soon. Hello there, Commonwealth Realm here. New trailers, gameplay and bigger and smaller content from the game is on its way from now to the release. So let's leap for 2023 likes, and if you haven't already, subscribe and press the notification bell as we are aiming for 333,333 subscribers by May 12th to make the channel Trinity complete and unlock a Zelda OLED giveaway or equivalent. Anyway, let's get inside Tears of the Kingdom's reveal calendar. February. Why are we starting with the second month and not January? First, Fire Emblem Engage being Nintendo's focus in January, and secondly, the significance of Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. Today we're exactly 100 days away from Tears of the Kingdom's release, and hence the final countdown. Will this key day bring the first Nintendo Direct of the year with a new Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer? You know, the first one with the ESRB Everyone 10 and up rating, which is 3 minutes and not 1.5 minutes long, with our first taste of new characters and voice acting. You know, following the update about the game's current state where you see it from Nintendo, or more specifically Nintendo Latin America, in December 2022. It is definitely possible, along with Thursday, February 2nd on Groundhog Day. The one the Bill Murray movie is based on, which would be perfect for this game, focused on extensive time gameplay. Throwback to the late 90s and early 2000s with Ocarina of Time, and in particular Majora's Mask, which might have been inspired by Groundhog Day, especially when we talk about multiple instances of active time reversal. Though in Tears of the Kingdom's case, without affecting Link, but rather one physical object to hit enemies with their own weapon, and the reverse rocks back up to where they fell off from in the sky. We're getting them, though I have to bring us a little down to the surface at this moment. Since the first or second sounds great for the 100 days and Groundhog Day connection, but there are different candidates, like Wednesday the 8th or Thursday the 9th of February. The latter is on the same date in the month as last year's first of 2 general Nintendo Directs. They might even wait until after Sunday, February 12th, so less than 3 months away from Tears of the Kingdom's release. But that would mean Wednesday 15th or Thursday 16th, unless this is a trailer bringing back the love interest on Valentine's Day. That Tuesday by confirming the survival and possible active role of short-haired Princess Zelda. At the same time, I think this might be a little late for a Nintendo Direct. The same goes for Zelda, the 37th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda franchise on Tuesday, February 21st. A date that would make a lot of sense for a Nintendo Direct with a Zelda story trailer tying much more together than up to now. It is also not too late for a final promotion of 2 big releases that month. Octopath Traveler 2 and Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which are both out on Friday, February 24th. As you can see, February is full of solid candidates for the first Direct with Zelda trailer due to their significance, though if I was to point out a specific one of these, then I direct your attention to the second week of the month. The Compromise, or more fitting in Tears of the Kingdom's case, Combination. After the 100 days left mark, but before the 3 months left, Valentine's Day and Zelda. It is also around 1.5 months from the potential gameplay world premiere. Speaking of, let's turn our calendar to March. Naturally, the first big date here is Friday, March 3rd, the same date and day as Breath of the Wild's release and the Nintendo Switch launch 6 years ago in 2017. The perfect release date for Tears of the Kingdom, and Switch 2? Neither are happening on this date, as Tears of the Kingdom is on this day still 2 months and 9 days away, and Switch 2 probably waiting for the next Mario Kart. What could happen on this date, however, if it wasn't revealed in a February Nintendo Direct, is the announcement of this. The first Zelda-themed Nintendo Switch, a gold OLED Tears of the Kingdom edition. How perfect wouldn't it be to have the official reveal trailer and pre-order rush of this one on exactly the 6th anniversary launch of Breath of the Wild? Seriously, it couldn't be better. Unless we also get the first dedicated Zelda Switch Nintendo Pro Controller. Though there's one thing that could be better, have the system playable in a Zelda booth exactly 20 days later. But where? At PAX East in Boston from March 23rd to 26th, as the game is out 1 month prior to the opening of E3 2023. So that one will not be featuring a Zelda dedicated booth, as they probably have something completely different in mind for that show. I got my flight and Airbnb secured for this one, as I experienced the Animal Crossing New Horizons booth in Boston in 2020, and I think a sky booth set on multiple sky islands and far more floating above our heads is something one definitely doesn't want to miss out on. Just like in the case of the games, Breath of the Wild's E3 2016 booth was spectacular, but Tears of the Kingdom's potential at PAX will level it up into the sky. Enough of puns. What matters is that this is where the game is likely to get its first and most likely only public demo, as there's little to no chance that this game will get a downloadable demo. You know, like the one we saw with Age of Calamity. After all, this is the 20th mainline installment in the Legend of Zelda franchise, not Hyrule Warriors. That covers the limited to very few people hands-on experience. Now onto the digital, or more specifically broadcasted one. Nintendo Treehouse Live with producer Eiji Aonuma and director Hidemaru Fujibayashi as potential guests. Why would they be there? To deliver the first official gameplay showcase of Tears of the Kingdom to viewers around the world. It might be teased with a proper gameplay trailer, but after that I sincerely think that the likelihood of getting the first true gameplay session at PAX East is very high. Just think of it, you deliver the goods in the first Nintendo Direct with an at most 3 minutes long trailer, and they'll take away time from other reveals and announcements, but at PAX you'll be dedicated to the biggest Nintendo release of the first half of 2023, giving the game hours to show, just like we saw in the case of Zelda Breath of the Wild at E3 2016. And also the Nintendo Switch presentation in 2017, perhaps even across multiple days and not just on Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. Though that is the perfect date for a big world premiere, and that is pretty much March. 3rd and 23rd are dates that we should all be suspicious of. 23rd for PAX East, but 3rd because of a potential Zelda Switch OLED with no game included reveal, a themed system that is likely to come out before the release of the game. Which brings us to April. Likely to remain somewhat silent until April 10th because of Easter Sunday, the day prior, but from this day it will be the final charge. Or more specifically, the final month to May 12th, an offensive that is likely to be unleashed by the dedicated presentation we all dream of, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Direct. Forget about the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Splatoon 3 Directs. If this one actually takes place on Wednesday, April 12th, then there is no end to the brilliance of this 100 days long marketing campaign to release. Exactly 1 month to go, though we shouldn't disclose Thursday, April 13th as well. No matter what, this presentation, which is likely to be around 30 minutes long or even longer, will be packed with all kinds of information that doesn't spoil the game badly. You know, just like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Splatoon 3 did. A show of hype, but also leaving the surprise and mystery intact. The show could conclude the big trailer cycle with the Tears of the Kingdom equivalent to the hype Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2017 presentation trailer, and begin the cycle of more minor, but also more frequent updates. First to the end of April with weekly clips, screenshots and art on Twitter and YouTube, which is quite different from everything up to that point. But probably also announcements from Nintendo's third-party partners when it comes to merch. You know, the Tears of the Kingdom first 4 figure statues and so on. But also the release of Tears of the Kingdom Switch OLED without the game in mid or second half of April. That as potential expansion pass announcement for release later this year, and special editions of the game unless this one was announced in February during PAX in March. But that is still nothing compared to the final 12 days of May, filled with not only weekly but eventually also daily updates of all kinds on Twitter and YouTube. This will be the time of last shared details, but also the first official reviews from Famitsu, Game Informer, and the other few lucky enough to be sent a review copy of the most anticipated game, as the Game Awards 2022 confirmed. It will be wild as we all prepare for departure up to the sky, and so will be the case for our upload schedule, especially in the release week, the final push to Friday and May 12th, the end of nearly 4 years of waiting since E3 2019, when we first saw Short-Haired Zelda, New Hand Link, and Malice Ganondorf, the end of the longest gap between 2 new mainline Zelda releases. There's just so much Zelda goodness that Nintendo is prepared to fire off in February, March, April, and May. Trailers, gameplay, presentations, screenshots, concept art, systems, and even expansion pass announcements. So there's an alternative for the last one, namely E3 2023, which opens on none other than my birthday, Tuesday, June 13th. Just like what was the case for the first E3 I attended in 2017. You know, where we also got our first expansion pass trailer in the Nintendo E3 Spotlight. In other words, don't be surprised if that is the case during Nintendo's E3 2023 Direct, that is unless it ends up cancelled physically for the 3rd time in a row. Either way, those are the Tears of the Kingdom reveals coming soon according to our February, March, April, May, and also E3 calendar, so in other words, the first half of the year. Do you think we could see something more in terms of reveals than what we have covered throughout this video? Then sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already and want to help us unlock this big giveaway, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to bring our channel past 333,333 subscribers before May 12th. Last but not least, a big thanks to all of you watching until the end, to our patreon.com/Cameron patrons, and in particular our royal producer Josh. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.